This player here is a defender, so what we want obviously is them to stay high and engaged when we had the ball. As that shot happened and the yellows get a ball and the striker then pulls out, they then have to think about their defensive shape to drop, as the blues then either stay compact here or they go press as a unit and stay nice and tight to try and win the ball back high. Hi, I'm Todd and I'm the Regional Coach Development Officer for the East. This is a 6-week programme focusing on defending to stop goals. The main focuses of this will be pressing and covering. This is week 4 of the 6-week session programme. So this is week 4 and the game's called Locked In, and this is part of a whole session. So how it's going to work is you can set up a small-sided game. So for this example, I'm going to do a 4v4, but you can do 3v3s and you can set up multiple ones in your space, depending on how many players you have. So for this example here, we've got 2 goals and you've got a halfway line. Obviously, you can add a halfway line in, depending on the pitch space you have. On the outside at either end, have some footballs dotted around to make sure the transitions are quick. So for this example here, the players in possession can go anywhere on the pitch. The players out of possession are locked into their half. So for this example here, the blues are in possession and the blues take a shot, and for this example, unfortunately, they've missed. The yellows will then go grab a ball and they will now attack. Now these blues, as the ball went off, will now stay in this zone, and this blue here is now locked into this zone. So the yellows now can go anywhere and attack. So what we're looking at now is decision making from the blues team. Can the nearest player go press the ball? Can the blues cover in to protect the space? Now, for example, if the ball's out here and the blues are out of shape from the shot, could the blue maybe force them into a wide area to delay until the players come round? Now, for another example, say the blues weren't able to get up in time and they transitioned and had a shot and the ball went off the pitch and the yellows grabbed the ball. We now have a 3v2 locked in this zone. So now they've got decisions to make on, does the near player press, or do they hold their shape to cover protect space before they can then engage from there? Another example might be in this practice. The blues had a shot, let's say they score, the yellows go grab a ball and they go and attack. And the yellows now cross the line. So here, the blues' job now is to hold their shape and make sure they don't dive in. As they dive in, obviously the ball could then be played and they could score. So in this example here, the blue might have to show the yellow attacker out wide to delay them. And for this, one defender can then come across the line. So as soon as the yellows cross that line, one defender can then come in and join and support their teammate as well. So looking at that player to delay them to allow their teammate to come back. So to protect transitions from attacking into the goal from there. So to adapt the game, if you want to make it easier for the defenders, bring the pitch in to make it smaller so the distances are a lot shorter. If you want to then start to challenge the defenders, make the pitch bigger. So now they've really got to think about the distances and their decisions of when to press and who to cover. What we also want to get out of this is we want now players to start making decisions and having responsibilities, because on the pitch, you want players to make decisions of should they go press, should they go cover. So in this practice, once you've got it set up and you've run it through a few times, now get your players in their groups to talk about, okay, who's going to be the attackers, who's going to be the defenders. So then you get to start to think about their positioning on the pitch as well. So in this practice, for example, here, say the blues have scored. This player here is a defender. So what we want obviously is them to stay high and engaged when we had the ball. As that shot happened and the yellows get a ball and the striker then pulls out, they then have to think about their defensive shape to drop, as the blues then either stay compact here or they go press as a unit and stay nice and tight to try and win the ball back high. So we're now going to move on to the game Piggy in the Middle, which links to the whole part whole. So this is going to be the part segment. So the pitch is split into thirds. We've got the 2 lines at the end, which I'll talk about in a minute for that reference. How the game is going to work, we're going to have 2 locked into each zone. The defenders are going to start in the middle. Very simple game. The blues are trying to transfer the ball across to the end zone, and it has to be below head height. If the defenders win the ball, they then go and attack in either goal, depending which side they won the ball from. The Blues can just not cross the end line to stop them standing in goal and stop them cheating. If that happens, then the Yellows come in here. These Blues then become the defenders. We're working with the defenders here, and what we now want to see is that decision making, whether they're close enough to go and press, or do they need to hold their shape. So now we're looking at the two defenders in the middle and their decision making. So for example, we don't want them too far back because they can't affect the play. So we're going to encourage the defenders to get into good compact shape to protect the middle, to stop the ball going through them. As the Blues might decide to travel a bit higher to try and get a bit closer, as that ball travels across, this player here has a decision to make. Either they hold their shape, or if they feel they can go and make an impact and affect the player, they then might start to press here to try and force the player to make a mistake. What we then want to see from our other defender is looking at then covering the player here. What we do not want to see is the other defender then going to press up as well, because they can split us and that pass through the gap to here. As the game goes on, we want to see these guys, these defenders here, working across, working together as pairs, as a unit. And what we want to see now as the weeks have gone on is that decision making as the ball travels. Do I go press and engage? Can that player come and cover? Because we don't mind if the ball comes back here, because then we can just get back into our shape from there. If that doesn't happen, make sure you also time it. So you might do a minute to just make sure there's lots of rotations and defenders aren't working for 10 minutes in the middle. To progress this session on, what we can encourage now to challenge the defenders, if they're getting lots of success, is one of the Blues can now travel across the line. So now the Yellows have to think about having to go and engage and that cover, because they need to remember they don't want anything going through them. They rather the ball go back, and if the ball travels back, can they shift across and get into a nice compact space. Another progression to this as well, to challenge the defenders, is one of the players from the other end zone can now drop in to receive the ball. So now the defenders have to think about the player in the middle, and what they want to encourage is if the player looks to receive the ball here, go and engage not to let that player turn, because we don't want to see the player turn here and it go across. So really highlighting that decision making, whether to go press the ball, to go and force them back and stay nice and compact in your shape. So with this practice here, what we're looking at is that decision making of whether to go and engage to affect the player, or that decision making whether to hold and stay compact and protect the space in the middle. So we've done the part, and now we're going to move back into the hole. So we're going to go back to the game locked in, and you're going to go back into exactly the same practice that you did before. So this is now what we're going to look at, is seeing, can we get some of the outcomes from Piggy in the middle into this game? So we'll talk through it here. So for the example, remember the team in possession can go anywhere on the pitch. The team out of possession are locked in. So for this example here, the striker has gone on a run, they've had a shot, however, they've missed this opportunity. But now the Blues are a little bit disconnected as the Yellows pick up the ball. So now what we want to see back in what we saw Piggy in the middle is, can the striker, instead of jumping in trying to win the ball, as you can see as they're disconnected, can they hold their shape? Can they kind of show the defenders one way? So what we're looking for now is the decision making from the players on the pitch, and recognising when to hold their shape and protect, or if they are higher, can they go up and win the ball? So for this example here, the Yellows have won the ball, the striker is on their own. So can we get the striker to now force them one way to allow the defenders to move up? And remember, they are locked in, but they can still get high, ready to engage. As the ball maybe goes across, a progression later on, as soon as it goes onto that side, you can then get the defender to engage from there. So what we're looking for from this session to put into practice on a match day is, we now want players to start making decisions themselves. So recognising, do they need to stay compact and delay and protect the middle, or are there opportunities to win the ball up high to then go and attack? So recognising different situations on the pitch, whether they've got teammates behind them to go and win the ball, or for example, if the forward's on their own, Do they need to delay? Do they need to stay compact to allow their team to get up?